This is going to be so difficult to jump back into. We might as well just do it. Hello, everybody. My name is Lachlan. I am a co-host of the Grab the Trace podcast, and I'm joined by, you'll never guess, another co-host of the exact same podcast, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi guys, it's Mikaela. Welcome back. It's been a hot minute, hasn't it?
It's been a bit of a hot minute, but you know, good things come to those who wait. And I reckon in about 4 weeks, when we get back in the speed of things, those good things are really going to come.
4 weeks? You put me on a timeline.
4 weeks. You're like, well, I've only got about 3 of these in me.
You can space them out however you like.
Oh, 100%. That's the best part about it. So I think the last episode we did was a quality, not a quality of life, a proof of life check, just to say, hey, the quality of life check. I mean, everything's improved. I'm trying to remember, since the last time we were on the waves, I too quit that job we were both working at. It's been a hot minute. And we have now both
Things have progressed.
A little bit, yeah. Our relationship with the Grab the Trace business has evolved to a stage where it is now both our full-time careers.
Yeah, it's our babies.
It's well and truly our baby. And we have... I mean, this may give away when we're recording, but literally, I think yesterday morning we had the diggers turn up on site to actually start work on the first house we've designed as Grab the Trace, which is like a little bit exciting. Like about an hour ago, we actually got the council approval sent through. So like we've been approved by council, we can do it. Training wheels are fully off by now. And so we thought, you know, just to ease back into things, we won't bore everyone with what'd you get up to this week? Because it's been about 4.5, 5 months. So
what'd you get up to this year?
There's a lot to recap in that kind of little bundle of time, but we'll drop bits and pieces as we go. Yeah. We'll give shout outs as we remember to give them, even though I've probably promised about 30 odd people a shout out. But the first one I'll give is shout out to Peter and Grady. I hope you picked the right colour white. There was a lot of chat at Grady's 30th birthday about what is the perfect colour of white. And so
what did you say?
So
I'm curious.
Theirs is a cute little Queensland kind of home. It's got some weatherboards. They've recently just repainted the external balustrades like a light, I won't say mint green, but like a really nice faded out kind of like green.
Like a muted green.
Yeah, muted. That's the word. See, I'm getting back with my vocab.
Like a warm green?
And that's what I'm thinking. It's a warm green. So I have a feeling I almost went like a snowy mountains, or did I go... Yeah, I think it was snowy mountains. I was like maybe saying like a half. What's your opinion? The look I'm getting. Also, everyone, we haven't got the camera rolling because we're trying to just get everything ironed out first. But I'll put a picture up of what the setup looks like. We're pretty elite now. It looks like a radio show.
What would I choose? I'd probably go a Palestone.
Ooh,
because it does have like a bit of green undertone to it, which is quite pretty. But in full sun, if that was used as like an external white, it's like proper white. Like it looks crisp white. But I love it for internals as well because it's a very, very soft muted. Like you'd be like, oh, is that beige? And you're like, no. Is it grey? No. But it's not white either.
It's like a little bit greeny.
Yeah, it's like a greeny, grey, stony beige. It's like
a palacey, stony.
It all depends on what you put it with. Like you can make it really cool. You can make it a bit warmer. You can
Gorgeous.
Make it, it's
well,
perfect.
guys, add that to the samples that I told you to paint on the outside of your walls, and most importantly, paint on all 4 sides of your house so you can check the different colours and different times.
Cool.
You know, just a little tip like that. House hack out of the way for the week. So what we're back into doing is we're back to the educational Grab the Trace.
Yeah.
I miss the old Grab the Trace.
The OG episodes.
The OG one. So we're back to the educational. We're kind of getting over talking to each other about things and then realising that we both know the same stuff now, and we're like, oh, have you I sent you that. Okay, you sent me that. Okay,
yeah, we saw that link.
So you guys are just like our extra friend. Like we're back.
I think like shorter and sharper episodes is definitely needed. I think I get sick of hearing my own voice after 10 minutes, so I don't know how you guys at home go, but I think smaller episodes,
Yep.
shorter episodes that are impactful, that you're actually getting something out of it.
Do you remember at the start when we were doing, oh my God, we were doing the like 45, 50-minute ones and I would do 3 editing cuts in a weekend and you would like listen to it. I'm pretty sure, and I had no blame on you, I was pretty sure after the second time I sent it to you, you're like, yeah, looks great. Like,
no, I would force myself. I think I actually did really, really well. I think I got to, I would listen to all the cuts that you did. I would do all the edits for it with you.
Yep.
And then I would even listen to it
Did you listen to it when it came out?
Yeah, like the fully edited one. And then I got to maybe like 30 plus episodes in. And I was like, what episode are we up to? Like, I don't know.
Why is this one an hour and 45 minutes? Because it's Jen Hawkins' house. It doesn't matter.
I feel like listening to it during the editing process was like enough.
Oh, well and truly. Like I definitely even noticed there was a patch in the 40s where I would listen to it once while I was doing other stuff and be like, yeah, that's good enough. And then I'd listen to it and be like, missed that one. So onward and upward, shorter, more punchier. And
breaking it up into, instead of trying to do like a whole house or this or that or like kitchens, like that's unrealistic to try and put it into an episode. But more relevant episodes, shorter, sharper, and with like a clear area or specific intent. Like if we're doing fireplaces, we're doing living room joinery, we're doing walk-in linen storage, like just areas that actually people are like, oh yeah, I'm trying to tackle that in my own house, or how do I go about that the best way possible and not waste time?
Yeah, if you tuned into kitchens and all you wanted to know about was the appliances, you had to wait 48 minutes.
Literally.
With no timestamp. I mean, I could have put timestamps, but whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit the music. We're into it. Bada bing, bada boom.
Boom.
Welcome to Grab the Trace, a home design podcast here to help you deliver your next project to its full potential. If you're looking for some tips and secrets whilst building a new home, renovating, or even just picking some window furnishings, stick around, pull up your plans, and let's grab the trace. So we just said a little bit of a tagline that we're pretty sure when we get to 100 we'll pack it in, but we'll see how we go. We'll reevaluate when we get to like the 90s and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
So this week, this episode, because whenever you're going to listen to this, we're starting the kind of topic of defects. Mm-hmm. And defects don't necessarily apply to like you've gone and finished a build and now we're looking at things. Defects exist in existing homes, whether you're going to buy an existing home to renovate or something.
Mm-hmm. Even like an extension or renos, you still have to sign off on what the builder's done for that specific set of renovations or building works. So it is relevant. Yeah,
100%. So what we're aiming to do is like a bit of an outline is this episode's going to kind of be the outline of what a defects list is, what is a defect even, and then kind of before you even go to site to have a look at defects or any photos or whatever, like what are some like helpful little things that you should bring with you or knowledge to have before you even get there?
Yeah. I think again, from an architect's perspective and an interior designer's, we'll have two completely different lists, which I think is amazing. Like, and great to keep in mind. But I think the biggest one that you said is, what is a defect? Because there's a lot of like, I guess, scenarios on site where I've been in between like clients and
the builder,
but then also like the homeowner, or like there's particularly, especially when we were doing multi-res and everything, our property developer was our client, then the builder, and then we had potential, like I was doing purchase to variations. So we had purchasers there as well. So it was like literally 4 teams, if
4
you
different
will,
stakeholders,
all trying to like get the best outcome. And then you don't want to finger point and whose problem is it or who did it or what's the reasoning behind it. But for me, there's a difference between a mistake and a defect.
Yeah. I think there's imperfections, which are like, there's actually like a document, and I well and truly, if you're building, have a check in if it's included in your contract or not, because there's actually a guideline document on defects that even gets down to the point of saying how far away from a wall are you to stand to try and spot paint defects. Like you're not allowed to get like up and close with a microscope or whatever.
Yeah. And having a father-in-law as a painter as well. Like, like you have people who have...
Yeah,
it's a lot of it, again, from a painter's perspective, it's not the painter who did it, or like
No.
that was the plasterer or the electrician,
Someone's
or like
knocked
it was,
it or-
or it was like a painter can't fix a skew-if wall. Like if
Yes.
like if you're looking at 11-meter long corridor or something and you're like, oh, it's going in and out and I can see the paint's like shiny there. It's like, no, that's how the light's hitting it because the plaster's not straight.
100%.
That's not the painter's fault. Like,
Yeah.
so there's all that. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure we'll get into it. But
it can get wild, but basically
it can get very,
it's nuts.
very wild.
Like I think even in that document I was talking about, there's a thing that someone recently was trying to contest where someone was walking on a roof sheeting, like a roof installer, and they stood on the ridge points of like a trim deck roof.
Yeah. Put
and
dips in it, or
they fixed it out of goodwill, but they were trying to justify that in this defect guideline, it says that defects externally are only things you can see from the ground.
oh, bugger
And I'm like,
off.
but how does that work for roofs?
Yeah, if you've got a hole in your roof, you're like, I can't see it from the
100%.
ground. Oh, come on.
And so it's kind of like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
So it's a guideline. It's what it is. It's not legally enforceable unless you've included it in your contract. But then even when we built our house, there was like the builder who did the handover, he was like, you need to stand 1.5 meters back. And like you can't
100%.
get up and have a look. So
do we want to give like a very brief description, like full layman's terms of what a defect, or when is it relevant to the build? What is a defect?
So I guess a defect for me is a element in the construction or anything like that is just not fit for purpose. So the intended purpose and kind of the intent out of it. So if your intent is to have a cleanly painted white wall, but then as we were saying, the cleaners have come through and accidentally dragged their broom handle down and it's got a big mark on it, that's not fit for purpose. If you've got a cracked tile, that's not fit for purpose. If a light switch or a GPO doesn't work, not fit for purpose. So generally,
and
if
this
you're
would come at, I'm just trying to find like the timeline. So say if you built a new house or you did an extension or a renovation with a building company or contractor, the defect or when you would be walking through is before like handover. Yeah.
So generally what will happen is, if it is a situation where the client building, the builder will get you out and they'll kind of already have like, sometimes you'll see on the block they have like the stickers, the defect stickers.
Painter's
so the builders
tape,
will usually run through and do their own inspection, then bring you out prior to that handover or what they deem as practical completion to run through all of that. And then that usually then gives them a job list or a task list they can pass out to the subbies to get it sorted. Do one final sweep through to make sure everything's been amended. Then official handover happens. You get the keys. You're in.
Perfect. And would like to note as well with this defect list, I don't know if it's different from like new construction or whatever you've agreed upon with your builder at the time of signing the contract. There is a period of time once you move, like it's like if you don't find all those defects, it like you're like, that's it, you've run out of time. No. You've got like 12 months or 2 years or whatever, however long that is. It normally?
I think it's 12 months. 12 months for
from handover or like from practical completion.
Yeah. From practical completion, I think it's 12 months. But then deemed for like what I would call minor defects. So like if something stops working, that's fine. But for major defects like structural, waterproofing, anything like that.
You have to wait a few months and then you get a big storm and then you're like, my skylight's leaking. Like that's a defect.
For major defects like that, I think you actually even get 6 years.
Okay.
But having said that, that can vary state to state. This is
all
Queensland
like,
based.
I got a scuff on my timber floorboards 9 months into living here. It's like, well, you did that.
100%. And like there's general wear and tear that happens. Like I think it's and also it's what's
hard
reasonable.
like, it's very.
Are you going to call someone out 6 months later because you're like, oh, someone didn't rub off a pencil mark on my staircase? It's like, just sort it out yourself. It's fine. But like if the banister breaks, okay, maybe we've got to get someone out to have a look at that.
I died. I fell off the like fine.
And like
fair.
there's a difference between wear and tear and acceptable use. So like if you're using a balustrade and like maybe you've stumbled a step and you've really put a bit of force on it and it's broken, I don't think that's general wear and tear. That's a structural issue.
100%.
But if you, example, you're carrying something and you drop it on your tile and you smash your tile, that's general wear and tear. That's something that you have accelerated. I mean, unless all the glue underneath the tiles wasn't laid properly, but that's a whole worm.
And again, more so, I know we said like the 12 months for a defect, but when we're talking about like major like if you get 3-4 years down the track and your bathroom is leaking because the waterproof failed, that's not a defect. Like that, well, it is, but it doesn't fall under the like 12 months. That goes under the warranty of your waterproofing. And there are exceptions. Like, again, if your skylight leaks, as you said, it was like 6 years. It's not 6 months.
Yeah,
like,
you have time for things that are major, and like it's generally all water related, to be honest with you. Like, I mean, unless you realize your deck is starting to sag, like maybe we've got to get someone out and put a few more bolts in it or something. But generally, I think there's what we've kind of made, or what we've tried to make the point is it something that you can live with versus is this something that can cause like major other issues? Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong or if you agree with me
I'll
as well.
cut it if you are, it's fine.
I always find that when it comes, as we did mention before previously, it can get a bit nasty when we're talking about like defects and like, especially these, well, any day. Building a house is expensive. Paying for building works, anything is an expensive venture. So you obviously want it done right. You do get a little bit, I guess, flustered would be a good word, or agitated. You're on I don't know,
edge.
like
it's been a long process.
Yeah, and you're kind of at the end, and then you just see all these problems and you're like, I just want to move in. But it's also like the relationship with your builder as well, and like to be kind of considerate or look at it from their perspective, that they've just spent, 6 months, 12 months, however long, investing into this build to give you the best outcome. And then it comes to the end and all someone really looks at is all the problems and all the bad things. And you're like, to just be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Thank you so much. This looks incredible.
Yep. Can we just sort out these things? Yeah. You're not here to burn bridges and be like, I want everything fixed.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like, again, coming from an interior designer, I'm usually the one busting balls and going through and picking out everything, because that's my job, to make sure that the client has the best outcome and what's documented is what's shown. But just a little shout 100%. Out to the builders out there and how much work all the trades and everything have put into this. And like, you don't want to leave a relationship that you've built for the past 6 months, 12 months, however long it's been, and just kind of let it all go to ruin over a few defects. Like,
I think the thing that is the best to keep in mind is trying to keep it as objective as possible. Yeah. Like, don't get emotive about anything.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It's just a transaction. Yep. It's not the first time they've ever had a defect. I would be really surprised if you get to the end of a build and there is no defects. Yeah. That's probably more of an alarm sign. But it's the quality of a builder will be how they respond to defects and the type of defects.
Typically, every builder that I've kind of met, they want the best outcome for you.
They don't want to be coming back out.
Yeah, they want this to be perfect and you're happy and it's on their books that like, boom, successful project. Boom. So it's a team effort is what I'm getting at. Don't play the like, it's you against me.
Yeah, 100%. Well, let's dive into let's get into it. The thing. So the episode, the topic. So what I've kind of put together here is just like a little list of, before we even go to have a look at, so say you've got your email being like, oh, practical completion's coming up. We're booking you in to come and do your defects inspection. Mm-hmm. So what do you need to prepare before that? And then what should you bring with you, or what things could you bring with you to maybe make life a little bit easy? Some of these things will probably be more relevant to a new build, some to a reno, some to even if you're rocking up to do an inspection on a house and you're like, oh, I want to do some work to this to kind of be your own little bit of a building inspector. Mm-hmm. So the number one thing is bring, I guess, a set of the documentation for what's been agreed to in the contract, whether it's finishes selections to make sure, like, especially if you haven't been there through the whole build, that what you've paid for has been installed, or if what you originally agreed on hasn't been installed, you've got a documentation trail that says why that hasn't been, whether you've had to pay more money to upgrade or you've got a rebate because something's had to come out and it doesn't match up.
Again, I keep coming from an interior designer's perspective or from a project perspective where I'm like, I know exactly what I've specified for 100%. This house and like I can go through. But now, again, your knowledge of going through the
project home,
like spec home kind of, and that process would be very different because you like have to remember what you paid for potentially like 2 years ago 100%. Or what you've agreed upon, and it's like all in writing, and it's like, oh, what did I get? Like what lighting package? Oh no, I paid an extra to get those extra down lights in this room.
The
like
tiles in the bathroom only go up to 2.1 meters. Yeah. It's like, oh, in our contract it says 2.4. Yeah. So
and it's little things that can get missed so 100%. Easily, and it's so, like, conversations that were had 2 years ago, and it's no one's fault. It's just needs to be rectified.
100%. So bring your documentation. Yep. And then in terms of like actual bits and pieces, so this is like I've put down like a little list of things that I've definitely looked like an idiot rocking up on site sometimes, but at least it served a purpose at one point or another. So
absolutely.
This most recent one is probably more relevant to me. Like when we went through the whole process of getting the skylights sorted, is actually being able to get up into a roof space and see like, oh, are the like, is there insulation there? Is there like the anti-reflective blanket underneath the roof sheeting? Being able to like get up there and see, oh, look, there's where the roof trusses are for future skylights or
I wouldn't be, I'd be sending Brock up there. But
100%.
I wouldn't be going up
and
there.
like even bringing clothing to suit that. Like if you know you're getting up in the roof, like bring something that can get dirty and dusty. Like bring a spare set of clothes where you bring water, obviously. It's going to get hot up there. One I would see spirit levels being used for, or potentially another little thing I've got in here, the last point, which is a marble or like a small ball, is purely just to check falls in like showers to make sure it doesn't like pool somewhere.
Yeah.
Because those are things that, and I think we might actually be going through this a little bit at our house. I think there's something not quite right with the way the screening was done in our shower area. And
even like, how do you tackle that from a homeowner? If you did, you got the marble test, you did it all, you even 6 months living in there, you're just flooding your bathroom every time. Like that's a big defect for a builder to take the responsibility on and be like, yes, everything needs to be ripped up and we need to redo this again. Like that's a huge,
well,
huge change or defect to kind of bring up. Or is it just more like you're noting it and being like, hey, I just don't think the levels are right on this. Like at least 100%. It's been noted.
Well, it's kind of the more subtle way of, instead of turning all the taps on and letting it run.
The room.
Yeah. But like some of these things you might not find out for months, years down the line. And it's kind of, to be honest, all these things that I'm saying, like I've learnt from builders. So they well and truly would have done it first. And like even the thing we were saying earlier, they don't want to come out to fix these things. So if they haven't done their due diligence, that's a tough word to say on a month.
Due diligence?
What's today, Tuesday?
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday afternoon. Jeez. That's a tough word to say. Actually, I'll just point to you. I can't even remember what I was saying now.
Due diligence?
That's the one.
Yeah.
If they haven't done that, that kind of reflects poorly on them. Like all the really good builders and site managers I've worked with, they kind of already know all the defects I'm going to list before I even get there.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm just trying to remember like when I did my kind of like defects at my own house, and the smallest one that I was like, oh, I would never have thought of doing that. Glad I did. It was the day after I did the defects, and I'd closed my bathroom door and it locked itself. And
really?
Yeah.
You couldn't
and I left my phone in my bedroom. So like it wasn't in the ensuite, and I'd closed the door. I was there for like 3 hours. I had to wait.
You're not.
Yeah. I had to wait for like Brock to come upstairs because I didn't have my phone. I couldn't contact. I'm not going to like be screaming. Like, you know how high up my bedroom is like this. I was there for 3 hours because the door, and I was like, I don't want to break a brand new like door.
Oh, what a good, I'd love to see you try and bust through a door. I think you would just bounce off like Play-Doh.
Okay.
Play-Doh was maybe not the right word to use.
We're not video recording this one, but guys, I'm actually a bit of a rig.
Yeah, it's been about 6 months since you've seen Mikaela. She's been huge in the gym.
I haven't.
Freaking amazing.
But yeah, so like little things like as defects, like just open and close doors and like close them, see that all the door handles work.
Do they squeak? Yep.
Another big, I know we haven't even got it. We're talking about pre-defect, but just while I remember it, door handles, because I got locked out, so that was a good one. And door stops. Have they put them in?
Yeah, good.
Because a lot of times they're missed or only on some doors, and if you've specified you've paid for and you've got like, you know, the magnetic door stops that I always spec, like make sure they're installed and make sure they're where you want them.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like up high on the door, sometimes it's low on the skirting, sometimes they've attached it to the wall, sometimes they've attached it to the door in the wrong area. But anyway, sorry. Next.
No, I love it. I love it. So the next one is maybe like a little bit more obvious, and to be honest with you shouldn't have to be doing this, but it's bring like something that like even like a nightlight or something and just plug it into every socket in every room. And just turn it on just to make sure it's there, because there's nothing worse than getting handover and then going to plug like your TV in or something and being like, oh, that's actually dead. PowerPoints are now until the builder gets back, I've got to run an extension cord from the kitchen to the living room.
A nightlight. That's actually a really good
just
one.
like a little nightlight, something discreet. Like I don't want you coming in with like a Makita toolkit being like,
so fair.
Yeah, I'm looking for ghosts in here actually.
Yeah. And honestly, I think you've got it listed down here, but the biggest one for me is a camera or obviously your phone.
Yeah.
Like, and not just take photos, take videos.
Yep.
I took a video of every single room.
Yeah.
And like walked around all the skirting, the walls, the ceiling, everything.
Beautiful. Oh my God, we're getting emails while we're recording. That's how much of a business we are. Oh, that's excellent. So the next one I've got is, and this is maybe more for people who have large expanses of tiles in their home, is the socks you wear. Try and wear like woolly ones that have like a bit of fraying on them, because then you'll be able to find if there's any areas of like the tile floors that like are raised and catch.
Oh.
Because it's something you're not going to catch. Like just have a whole fun afternoon like pretending you're an ice skater just cutting up and down.
Oh my God.
But like you'll be able to find if there's an exposed tile edge that you may not be able to visually see
even
that.
Timber floorboards, if they're not like
call.
completely flush or little things.
Do that. That's something that is quite a good idea, because otherwise it'll be the middle of the night, you're walking and it'll just be that's the first time you've ever stepped on that corner of that tile.
Honestly, I think the average person could get away going to a defect inspection with their iPhone. Honestly, with a spirit level, with a camera, with a notes that you can take photos. Just take photos and write and be like, oh, that's a bit weird, or this door handle's a little bit stiff, or...
Can I double up on something? When you're saying take video, the main advantage of that is you can kind of show the builder how you were using it, because they might go out and be like, well, this is how I use it and it doesn't make that defect. So they can't repeat the issue you're having. Where if you can clearly show, oh, when I open the door like this, like it might be you have to turn the door handle like 3/4 of the way instead of the full way. And when you do that, it creaks opening or something. You've got an actual documented case of why that is.
Yeah. Or even... like, I know it's small things, but like casement windows, if you have it, or if a painter's like, it's just when you have that overlap of trades and a builder is like, oh no, wait till like the plasterer finishes. And then the plasterer is like, oh, we'll wait until like it's sanded and painted. And then it's, oh, wait till the builder gets back in and puts all the hardware on. It'll be, so it's always someone else's responsibility. So by the time you're doing defects, it's passed through a lot of hands. It has passed through a lot of hands, and a lot of people who are like, oh, that's not my problem, or I'm not the last one to touch this. So for me, a big one is especially casement windows, or when it's been freshly painted, it can be a little bit sticky. So opening and closing windows.
Good call.
That's a big one that I like to, and again, doors, check all your door hardware, your hinges, your door levers, make sure they all work. Cavity sliders as well, make sure you pull them all the way out, push them all the way back in, because sometimes they can catch, or if there's not something smooth in the cavity. Casement windows, opening and closing, even double hung, single hung, they can like catch. Yeah, what else? Oh,
listen, I don't want to like upset everyone, but the next episode that we're going to do, I have a mega list.
Oh, gosh.
Like, so...
Oh, is this just like preparing for the defects?
We're preparing people to rock up to site.
Oh.
Mikaela, we're not even inside. I've even got an external episode planned.
Oh my gosh.
So just you wait. But everybody, while we're talking about that, I mean, obviously bring your like little cool stickers you can get from Bunnings, like the little dot ones, so you can feel like you're on the block.
I would just do
a notes list.
I would just do a roll of painter's tape.
Yeah, good call.
It's actually so much cheaper, and you can rip however many areas you want.
Definitely not something I've done. Don't get painter's tape and then use a Sharpie to write the actual defect number on the
Shut up. Oh my God.
On the painter's tape.
My father-in-law would have skinned you alive.
That was how I was taking photos to then put in my defects report, and I didn't realize that the Sharpie bled through the painter's tape. Bled through the painter's tape and then onto the white wall. So that took a couple of coats. So it was a defect. It's just, I exacerbated the defect.
An architect defect.
I made the defect worse. So don't do that. If you're going to do it, just use pencil. But do really lightly so you don't make it. Yeah.
Don't touch the walls.
Maybe we should sell numbered defect docs.
Oh, I would like to, again, I know this is like legality, or you'd be better at answering this, but technically the extension, the building works, the home, it's not actually yours yet until
it's still the builders.
It's still the builders. So you making marks or touching things, or it's not actually yours yet.
Yeah.
So just be careful.
The same kind of like consideration you want them to show you in terms of being nice and accommodating to attend to defects in a timely manner.
Yeah. Because I don't think I didn't even use painter's tape. I didn't touch anything. Like I obviously tried to use, but then I just took notes.
Yep.
And I'm like, main bathroom, these are the issues. Hallway, this is the issue. And then I took photos and then linked those photos to that.
Yeah, I love that.
Because, again, it's the builder's property at the moment. Like
it is.
You just don't want to mess around with that.
And before I incriminate myself further, we will put a close to this episode.
Well, again, oh my gosh, if I was the builder and an architect had gone around
he was fine with it.
Bled through. Oh, yeah, he was fine with it. The painter wouldn't have been fine with it. He would have been like, who the hell did this? Listen, Lachlan
everybody.
Anderson.
I'll see if I can find a photo of it. I might have a photo of it on my phone. It'd be from a while ago. I think it was when I was a very baby architect.
Oh my gosh, freshie on site.
Yeah, I've kept that in for probably 4 and a bit years. Not told a soul. So it's just you and me, friends.
Just you and me and everyone.
So now we all have skin in the game. We're all held to secrecy on this front.
Okay. In terms of interior prep, I just want to make sure. I know you went over it, and I could not agree more in terms of bringing documentation for me. And again, not even my own house, but as an interior designer going on behalf and doing defects for clients, I'd go at least maybe an hour or two of just going through every single bit of documentation.
Yeah.
I'd reread all the joinery drawings that I did. I'd go through the finisher schedule with a fine-tooth comb and just make sure everything is correct. Because I even picked up, this was a few years, would have been at least over 5 years ago, did a townhouse development. And in that townhouse development, I'm like, gosh, it's really dark in here. Just seems really dark. And I was walking through all the rooms and I'm like, it just kind of blends, doesn't it? They painted the wall colour
on the ceiling,
the skirting, architraves, the doors. No. They all painted it the wrong colour. Everything. The whole townhouse development internally was painted the wrong colour, and it was a lot darker. I think I went with a really crisp white, a really simple white, and they did a dirty, creamy white almost. And I was like, where the hell? I'm like, what is that? That is not what I specified. And they were trying to tell me, and I was like, trust me, that is not the colour.
This is not it.
I did not spec that. And then I looked through all the finisher schedules and I was like, no, that's definitely not.
That's vivid white. That's not that colour.
I was like, I would never have picked that colour. What are you on about? And I remember getting the A4 printouts, the colour printouts, and going over, and it was a white square on this yellow cream wall. They had to paint the entire development again.
Listen, I guess what? If I have to sum that up, is do your research and then trust your instincts.
The average person who would have been like, oh, okay,
it's a white, I guess.
It's they painted it. There's no defects, but the actual specification is a defect. So same thing. It's not about going through and walking and being like, oh, that's a perfectly laid tile floor. Is that the tile that you chose?
Is it the right finish of tile? Have they laid an external tile where it's meant to be a matte
finish
tile
instead of a matte finish or a gloss or semi-gloss or whatever it may be?
We're going to have so much fun talking about all the interior stuff I've prepped.
Lights are a big one as well.
Oh, yeah, colours.
Builders. Maybe I'm...
Listen,
sorry.
Listen, let's save it. Let's save it.
Okay,
in the sake of keeping it short and punchy, let's save it.
Yeah.
So we're back. Mikaela and Lachlan are back, all right.
Defects part 1
done. Mic dropped, but not dropped because we've got beautiful new microphone stands, so you can't hear the squeaking anymore.
I don't have to keep lifting it up.
Yeah, it doesn't sag anymore. That's pretty neat. So that's it for this week. Next week, we're going to move more into internal defects.
Yeah.
Who knows?
It might things to look out for.
It might blow up into a 2-parter. We're just going to play it week by week. We're just going to play episode by episode. Well, that's what I'm saying. If we need to keep it short and sharp, we might have to split it in 2 because there's a lot of things I've noted.
Oh, gosh.
So we'll see how we go. And I'm sure, we've already told probably 15 minutes of personal stories on this one. So
I'm so sorry.
Listen, we just love the sound of our voice. I know we said we didn't like it, but
we're back
here.
We're back in a big way.
Thank you very much, Mikaela.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you again probably in about 3 minutes when we stop recording.
Sounds good.
We'll be back next week or next episode, everyone. So thank you for rejoining us.
Yeah.
And
welcome 2023.
Check out the website. The website's an absolute vibe now. It's no longer just a website for the podcast. It's a website. It's a website for our business.
For a studio.
Check out some beautiful projects. Check out Olive, the one that we've got up at the moment. Check out our Thornlands project interiors that Mikaela worked so hard on that I did a little sketcheroo of. And then even check out, I did a little deck extension out at Wynnum.
You did?
Have a look at that. And there's more coming, more in the pipeline. So we'll talk to you all soon. And do we toodaloo on 3?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Toodaloo.
We've come to the end of another episode. If you have any questions, reach out to us on our Instagram @GrabTheTrace. Following, sharing, leaving a review or a rating is the best way to help the show. Our opening and closing music was created by Robert Hellberg. And whilst we try to help as much as possible, this podcast is of a general nature and won't be able to take into account your individual circumstance. If you need personalised advice, you should engage a relevant professional consultant to help make the best decisions for your situation. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.